All right, today we're going to do a quick tune-up on your knowledge of the TCPA call advertising rules for 2025. The whole point here is simple. Let's get the right digital guardrails in place so your team can focus on what they do best, having great conversations, not sweating the compliance details. Let's jump in.
And look, the stakes here are way higher than you might think. A single, tiny, misconfigured setting, a wrong toggle for quiet hours, a missed DNC list update, can instantly flip a warm lead into a really expensive complaint. It's just like that kettle. Starts off with so much promise, then boom, you've got a real scorched problem on your hands.
But here's the good news. Preventing all that, it's actually pretty straightforward. So let's get those essential guardrails set up, and let's do it fast. We can lock in that compliance so you can get back to focusing on growth.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the absolute basics, the rules that govern when you can call and who you can call. You've got to get this right because everything else we talk about is built on this foundation. We want to make sure it's rock solid.
So let's break this down into two main pillars. First, you've got your quiet hours. You can only call between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. And notice that little emphasis there, the recipient's local time. Not yours. That is such a critical detail. Second is DNC hygiene. You absolutely have to scrub your list against the National Do Not Call Registry. So how often do you actually need to do that? Well, the rule says the absolute maximum is 31 days. But really, who wants to cut it that close? The best practice here? Just automate it. Set it to run every 30 days. Or even better, run it nightly. That way, a single missed manual scrub doesn't accidentally push you into a non-compliance nightmare.
All right, now let's flip the coin over and talk about the other side of the DNC world, your own internal list. When a customer tells your company directly, hey, don't call me, you have to honor that request for at least 5 years. And don't sleep on this one. This list is just as important, if not more so, than the National Registry.
Okay, next up, and this might be the most important part of our whole chat today, getting proper consent. Honestly, this is where so many well-intentioned businesses get tripped up.
The magic letters you need to burn into your brain are PEWC, Prior Express Written Consent. And listen, this is not just some, yeah, sure, call me kind of permission. It has to be a clear, written agreement that specifically names the seller, your company, who's allowed to call. That old trick of saying, our trusted partners might contact you, yeah, that's not going to fly anymore.
So how do you actually get this PUCW the right way? It really boils down to 3 simple, non-negotiable steps. Number 1, your brand, your company name, has to be right there in the text. Number 2, you've got to use an unchecked box. The user has to physically click it to say yes. You can't have it pre-checked for them. And finally, number 3, you have to save the proof. Think of it like a digital receipt, a timestamp screenshot, the IP address, something that proves they said yes.
And hey, a really quick but super important note as we head into 2025, those super realistic AI-generated voices, they are not a loophole. Let me say that again. They are not a loophole. The law sees them exactly the same as an old-school robocall voice. So if you're using AI for marketing calls, you need that PEWC, period. All right, so you've done everything right. You've gotten consent, you're ready to have a great conversation. But what happens when that person says, hey, I'm done? That brings us to our next big point. You've got to honor the stop and close that loop properly.
And this is so important. A customer can tell you to stop using any reasonable method. It could be a text reply with the word stop. It could be them leaving a voicemail. Heck, they could tell a live agent on the phone, send an email, anything. You can't force them into one specific channel to opt out. The point is your systems have to be listening everywhere.
The second that request hits your system, a clock starts ticking. You have 10, that's 10, business days max to process it and get them on your internal do not call list. But honestly, treat these like a hot potato. The best practice is to get it done the same day. Don't let it sit around.
Okay, so far we've been talking a lot about defense, avoiding fines and staying out of trouble. But what's really cool is that good compliance is actually good offense. It's good for business. Let's talk about the payoff. Actually boosting your answer rate. Look, good compliance builds trust. But what good is that trust if your call shows up on someone's phone as spam likely? This is why your caller ID health is it's everything. Without proper authentication, all your perfectly compliant calls could just be going straight to voicemail.
And don't just take my word for it. The impacts here are huge. Check this out. There was this home services company. Before they fixed their caller ID name, the CNAM, their answer rate was sitting at 27%. After a simple fix to make sure their brand name showed up correctly, boom, it jumped to 39%. That's a massive lift with zero extra ad dollars spent.
All right, let's wrap this all up with a quick 6-point checklist you can take back to your team. We've hit on respecting quiet hours, keeping your D&C hygiene on point, getting that seller-named PEWC, honoring stop requests within 10 days, and keeping your caller ID healthy. And the last piece of the puzzle, number 6, is checking the reassigned numbers database. Why? Because you've got to make sure the number you got consent for still belongs to that same person. Super important for avoiding those accidental wrong number calls.
So once you get these guardrails locked in, compliance stops being this big, scary thing you worry about every day. It just becomes part of your process. This frees up all that mental energy for your team to focus on what really drives the business: strategy, performance, and just connecting with people. So my question for you is, once this is all handled, where are you going to focus all that new energy?